Hello, everybody. So this is crazy. StreamYard has this new feature where you can actually go live on your guest channel at the same time. And so I had clicked on that option and we had sort of vaguely discussed like, hey, we should try that. And so today is the day we're simulcasting on my channel, Michelle's channel, and then all of our other Facebook and all the other places too. So, but we weren't sure how to do it exactly. And so we kind of had to figure it out as we went along. Robert is here also. Hello. We were just saying Michelle has been our guinea pig and she is simulcasting our live stream today on her channel as well as our channel. So I know, right? We are so fancy.
Okay, I do see the button this time now that I'm looking for it. Stream to your audience. Okay.
Do you want to try it?
Yeah, sure.
Let's do our intros and then I will do we'll do our 5-minute warm-up, and that feels like a great place to do a switch over. I mean, you could just go right now. Well, if we take really long intros, you can do it, okay. Or you can do it in the 5 minutes. All right, let's get started. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Writing Sprints today. My name is Lisa Daly. This is my channel, and it's also Michelle's channel and probably going to be Robert's channel, so that's exciting. And so today we are going to answer some writing questions. We have some really interesting ones this week, and we are going to do some writing sprints. So I am super excited about that. Okay, here we go. Let's have our little intros. Michelle, since you are all ready to roll and live on your channel, tell us a little about you and your awesome channel. Oh no, we lost your wait, you're muted.
I'm sorry, it's because I was trying to get the stream pulled up to see if it was working, and I didn't want to have that like crossover effect.
That's okay. Everybody's patient. We're like, okay, we're trying something new, but it's super cool. Okay, let's try it. Michelle, right. Tell us all about you and your awesome channel.
I am Michelle Schusterman. I'm a middle grade and young adult author. My channel is Traditional Publishing Chat, writing vlogs, and writing workshops. And today, I know I said this last week, Lisa, but today for real, my goal is to finish the middle grade mystery and send it to my beta reader.
Yay! All right. I feel good about today. I'm feeling very good. I'm feeling the vibe. All right. Robert Jones is here today. He's like, Robert, tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
Well, my channel, as always, takes various forms of storytelling and puts it under a Sherlockian microscope rather. I'll get this right one day. Breaks down that craft and gives it to the viewer to make your craft journey easier, putting my experience as a storyteller through visual arts at Marvel and writing and various other forms, as well as tech reviews.
Very nice. Great job. And we're live on everybody's channel today, which is super, super cool. I think my guess is that it'll be easier next time, like you just push the button because you're already set up. So yay, that is super awesome. I'm so excited. All right, so I am Lisa Daly. I'm a hybrid published author. It's so weird for me to say that because I've said I'm a traditionally published author for so long. Anyway, I am now a hybrid published author, which I am super loving. I write romantic comedies and nonfiction advice, and I am super excited to get writing today because I had an awesome writing day yesterday, and I want to continue the streak. Yay. Feeling good. I have an ambitious deadline because my mom's coming into town next week and kids home for the summer soon, all that. So I'm like trying to write like the wind to get this book done. Let's say hi to some friends, and then we're going to do our first 5-minute warm-up. Mary Putnam is here. Hello. We are super, super glad to see you today. Lainey's here. Hello. We are super happy you are here today. Bonnie's here. Mary's here. Yep, I know, right? It's all exciting. Thank you. Okay, can I just say this? I'm on a branding jag, which I think I mentioned to you guys last week.
I wondered if that's what it was.
Yeah, right. So it's funny because stuff, I sent out a note to my cover designer, like, even though the cover was finished for the hockey series, I'm like, okay, we have to change my author name. We have to do this and this. And now like things are starting to come in. I'm getting a new intro for my YouTube videos. So at the end of this, I think I'm going to do like a video where I show everything side by side, and then you can see like the power of the brand versus the cluster that used to be. So anyway, we'll see what happens. All right, Mary. Yay, super, super fancy, right? 3x streaming. I don't know. Devin's here. Hello, Devin. We are super glad to see you. Oh, thank you. Stream. It's like this, like Tina's here. Regina, good morning. We are super happy to see you. Can't really this week, but happy writing, everybody. We totally get that, but we are very happy that you are here today with us. Laura's here. Hello. We remember your Vanessa. Vanessa, not Vanessa Vale. Our Vanessa, not Vanessa Vale. We love Vanessa too. I guess Vanessa Vale is also our Vanessa. All right. So yeah, we are super excited. Doll's here today. Doll, we're so glad that you made the stream today. Very, very happy. Michelle's like, hello, I'm on my channel. This is so fantastic. BookTube Goddess is here. Hello. CO Savvy. Yes. Michelle is so we have a new super trick on We have a new super trick on StreamYard where all of us can stream from our channels, which we think is going to be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully it'll get more people in.
I know, right? That's what, yeah. I mean, we have such a good group, so it's absolutely fantastic. Katrina is here. Hello, Katrina. We are super glad to see you today. C Daily, greetings from Nova Scotia. I think or it could be CD Ally.
C Daily?
C Daily. That's what I thought. C Daily. If there's something else you want us to call you, let us know. Otherwise, C Daily it is. All right, fantastic. Does that still mean shut the hell up? I don't remember. What else could SHU mean? Yeah, I don't know. Stacy's here. Hello, Stacy. We are super, super glad to see you. So StreamYard, great question, Doll. StreamYard opened a new feature up that says that when I log in, it says, hey, do you want to let your guests also stream live to their channels? And I thought, that sounds like a great idea. And so we talked about it a couple weeks ago, and we decided we were going to go ahead and do it. And today everybody had the magical options. And so now we are live. So that's kind of Stream Hoppers United. There you go. Very, very nice. Love it. All right. Try listening to both channels slightly out of sync. Oh, that's weird. You'd think that they would be like, oh, that's really fascinating. Huh. Interesting. Very interesting. Well, I'm glad that it worked out so easily for you guys to do that.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. CO says appeasing the YouTube algorithm gods through a loophole. Heck yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's what we're here for. Watch time for everybody. Yeah. All right. So, okay. So let's go ahead and do our 5-minute warm-up sprint. Let me share the screen. Dun, da, da. You'd think I would be better at this, but I am not. Okay, here we go, guys. So I have 5 minutes up on the timer. We are going to just use this time to get our documents open, get our little finger, like you do little finger stretches like that. Do our little finger exercises, get your mind right, do a little meditation if you need to. But let's go ahead and get warmed up in this first 5-minute writing sprint. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Sprint. All right, everybody. How did you guys do in that 5-minute sprint?
Good.
Good.
Couple words got going.
Excellent. That's fantastic. Very, very nice. So our first question, let me get rid of this little banner here. So we had a good writing question, and it's funny because I actually, I think I put it first because I actually had this same thing happen over the weekend. Oops, let's not do a scroll. Hold on. Because it was kind of big. All right. So question number 1, I was writing great and now I'm just floundering. How do you get unstuck? So if you guys have a publishing question today, writing question, etc., feel free to just drop it in the chat, or you can always email it to me at yt@lisadaily.tv. So that's the question. I was writing great and now I'm not writing great. How do you get unstuck? Who wants to jump in on this one?
I feel like I would want a little more information first, actually. Like, what does that mean? Are you like a couple pages in, a couple chapters in, 50,000 words in? You know?
Yeah, I think she had said that she was, I'm assuming it's a her, actually. I don't know why. Female, like feminine vibe. I'm not quite sure. It might not be she. Anyway, so might be he or they, who knows. Anyway, the person who wrote in said that they were in the first third of their novel and that they were stuck. To me, if you're stuck so early on, that feels like a structural problem or a plotting problem, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Like, it's really common to get stuck in the middle because yeah, and she's not quite there yet. I mean, me first third maybe, but yeah. So generally speaking, that is a plotting issue, and this can happen really commonly, even if you plot things out before you get started. I know I had made some changes to my original storyline that I had planned for the hockey romance novel, and I was facing kind of the same thing where I was just sort of grinding and not really getting anywhere. And I thought maybe this is because I don't know what I'm doing next. Like maybe just that. So I went through and there were some holes and I was like, okay. And so I kind of replotted and changed the thing. Cause a lot of times, if it's a little change, you go, oh, well, I know. So I don't need to work. Like I don't need to actually replot this because it's just this little thing. But then if you have 3 or 4 of those or 18, then sometimes that's enough to get you off track. So I think our advice is replot if you are really stuck. What if you're a pantser?
Yeah.
Robert, you go.
I was going to say, whether you're a planner or a pantser, this happens, and it's exactly as Lisa said. There's things you just haven't figured out. And since it was most of my last year and I had a thin plot that I was expanding from a short story and running with it and pantsing a lot of it, the same thing happened. And I just had to get back to squares, plot it out, solve my problems, and do what I normally do and flesh the story out, because there's just something in there that you haven't figured out. And, sometimes getting away from it and reading or watching movies and doing something else until ideas start popping again, can be helpful. There's no easy answer here. I wish there was, but getting back to squares is what you have to do. And whatever gets you there and inspires you is the ticket.
Yeah. So you can't say like have 3 diagonally cut slices of cinnamon toast under a full moon, and that will solve your writing problems. Make sure that you make your fingers like this. Okay. All right. All good. You guys in the chat, anybody have anything that they want to say about this? A lady says, I'm outlining my next series today. Titles are so hard. I alternately love and hate titles. Yeah, because right, I used to work in advertising, and so titles to me feel a little bit like headlines, and I love the joy of getting a really good one, but sometimes it is hard, and it's a different skill. You can be an excellent writer and terrible at titling, or struggle with titling. I mean, I think Lainey's titles are generally pretty strong, so I don't think she's bad at titling. I think, but I totally get this. Like a lot of people hate titling their books.
Yeah.
So yeah. Mary says unstuck or maybe ... doing everything to procrastinate actual writing. Yes, I have done that too. Just like now, instead of writing, I was busy uploading a picture of a stuffed chicken for the amusement of my coworkers.
This morning,
Yes.
I created by buying a new cookbook and going through recipes and looking at the pictures because, you know,
Right.
you want to write.
Right. Exactly. Ooh, we've got another good question. We're going to take that when we come back from our next sprint. Love this. Okay, so now I cannot get the comment to go away. Oh, because it's a banner. I was like, what have I done? But we are going to start with another. We'll do our first 20-minute writing sprint and get some words knocked out because this is the week for Michelle. Also, I'm trying to edit which we didn't talk about. What are you guys working on in the chat? Let us know today what you're going to be working on today. What are you guys working on today?
You know what I'm working on.
I know what you're working on. You're going to finish that middle grade. What about you, Robert? What are you doing
Still
today?
editing my manuscript. I did manage to finally get through the third quarter last week. And this week has been a little hectic because Georgie is going away tomorrow. So we're busy doing a lot of things. And I didn't write for the last couple of days. And this morning I got up and I walked the dog and listened to an audiobook while I was walking. And I got some ideas and I dictated a paragraph for the next scene opening that it came to mind, and that's how I got unstuck.
I love when that happens. So I have like been grinding, and then over the weekend, was like, you know what? I probably need to sit down and replot a little bit, and then things just came out. And now I'm at that glorious time where funny lines just appear to you in the shower, and like right before I went to bed last night, I was like, I wrote myself like an email that said like, insert this, I love that feeling. Before we go to our 20-minute sprint, Regina had a great question. Michelle, my first question, how does one manage to edit and draft on the same day? Like that.
Different projects?
Different projects or the same project? That's interesting.
And drafting another thing, or drafting something and then editing it? Clarify.
Yes, please clarify that.
Talk about it.
Yeah. So what's interesting is, like, for me, I do write and edit in the same day, but not at the same time. I will write in the morning and then I try in the later afternoon to edit so that that project is kind of fresh in my mind first thing in the morning, but also I've had enough of a break. And for me, editing doesn't require as much brain power as the creating does. So
I mostly do the same thing. Once I get the draft down, I'll come back later that afternoon or sometimes the next morning before I start the next scene and go over the previous one, and I'll make some minor edits and fine tuning.
All right. Regina says different projects.
To me, that's easier because it's like draft one project in the morning and then I'm like, okay, I'm done with this. I can take my brain out of this world for a while and just move to the other one. It's like a break.
Yeah.
For me. And just like Lisa said, if I have to do both in one day, I draft first because that's like more like creatively, mentally taxing. And I save the edits for later.
Yeah. All right. Fantastic. I am curious though, what do you do differently? Because you asked her, was it the same project or different project? So I'm curious.
Well, I was just
why did that matter to you?
A lot about like self-editing as they're drafting because they don't want to edit later. And to me, it's like you can. I think we all to some extent edit as we draft. Like I'm constantly going back and picking at little things, but I know myself well enough to know I can only do that so much before I'm stuck in that loop and I'm just like not progressing.
Right.
And I have to let it go. Right. At some point and be like, I'm going to revise this later, but now is not that time.
Yeah, well, that's it, because otherwise you can use up your entire 4-hour writing block or whatever you have for that day. 1 hour, 20 minutes, 7 hours, whatever. Like changing periods around. So you use your brain right at like peak performance time. Your brain is used for stuff that you need like this much for. So I totally get that.
I get the different projects thing too. It's something I've never done with my writing until end of last year, early this year, when I started like working on multiple projects at the same time, and it does sort of fuel one thing and give you a break from the other, and it can be helpful. I haven't done it over the past month or so, but there is benefit in doing that if you can do it.
Yeah. I think the key though is the split, like a little time. I usually will like later in the afternoon, like kind of give your brain a break and do some other things and then do stuff like that. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and do our first 20-minute writing sprint. I know we are all anxious for, you know, a little time to get those projects moving. So I'm super excited on what I'm working on today because I'm in a flirty part. Ooh.
Oh, fun.
I know, right? Those are always the best. That's it. Like in the shower last night, I like worked outside all day, took a little swim last night, and then when I was cleaning up in the shower, I had this like idea, and I thought like I literally like spend all day thinking of like the perfect thing for a guy to say. Anyway, all right. Speaking of perfect things, let's all get down and write our own, shall we? Okay, let's go ahead and get started for our 20-minute writing sprint in 3, 2, 1. Sprint. All right. Fantastic. Let me go ahead and grab this. Well, I think I hear the microwave. Hold on. I'm going to let Michelle unmute herself. Oh my gosh. How did you guys do on the sprint? Let us know. Let us know how you did in the chat. And I am blah, blah, blah. Let us know how you did in the chat and what you're working on today if you have not already told us. I just realized I think we just did a 20-minute sprint with no sort of banner running at the bottom. Okay, so we had a really great question earlier, and I said, what was it? And I'm like, oh, you're next. And then I forgot what the question was. Okay, hold on. We're going back. Cynthia was Cynthia's question. All I have to do is find Cynthia now. You guys are great. Okay, so here is Cynthia's question. She says, I believe you should offer your work in print, ebooks, ACX. What's your take on it? Is it worth the cost for Audible? Do you want to jump in, or do you want me to jump in first?
Go ahead. I think it's, worth the cost for Audible because audiobooks are becoming a really big thing.
They are.
You'd be cutting out a big part of your audience not to attempt to do that, I think.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. So I looked up some statistics on this. There are currently 48.5 million books on Kindle. Do you know how many there are on Audible? 760,000. The fact that this is like you have the opportunity to get in on the ground floor of Amazon all over again, when, before it really just blew up and became like this massive thing. There's so much less competition. And so the thing that's interesting, I think, about it is that, there are a couple of ways that you can do you can pay for the production of audiobooks. One way is to do a revenue share with ACX, where you don't pay anything out of pocket up front, but for, I think it's 7 years. It's either 5 years or 7 years. I think it's 5. But for an extended period of time, you have to keep that book exclusive to Amazon, and also the narrator is going to make half of the royalties, which is fair. They've put the effort into narrating the book, versus producing an audiobook, meaning that you pay the narrator and any other production costs ahead of time, and that way you own the book outright. So I actually think it's a better strategy to own the book outright, because then you have the opportunity to put it on a lot more platforms and make a lot more sales. And also you're eligible for things like BookBub's Chirp deals, which is like a BookBub deal except for audiobooks. Whereas if you're Amazon exclusive and you're doing a revenue share, you can't do that. So that's my thought on that. But I think as many formats, I mean, you guys know I work with a number of 6- and 7-figure authors. And one of the things I think that's so smart that they do is that they basically put that content in every format they possibly can. So, it's a paperback, it's a hardcover, it's an ebook, it's an audiobook. Maybe they're reading it on YouTube, and they have it's a large print book, hardcover. They're taking advantage of every format they possibly can, because it doesn't really cost you. I mean, certainly there's a cost with producing an audiobook, but the cost to produce a hardcover in addition to a paperback is negligible. It's just a tweak to the cover, and then you have a whole other format. Some people prefer to read in hardcover.
So many people who have busy schedules are turning to Audible because it's so easy to travel with them, wherever they go. And, for me, being a tech gadget person, I mean, I have a watch and all I have to do is plug in, my earbuds, and I can listen to Audible, wherever I go. I don't even need to bring my phone.
That is awesome. I hadn't even thought about that. I know a lot of people listen to audiobooks like where they're cleaning, or they're doing they're out gardening and they're listening to a book, or they like to listen to an audiobook when they walk every day or when they exercise. I think that's absolutely
Walking your dog and exercising. I mean, that's a great way to get in some extra reading. So I do that every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. All right. Abby/CO has a question. Has anyone heard of a world beat sheet?
No.
Basically save the cat beats, but for your setting. Ever since I heard of it, I used it. Now I swear by it, especially if the world is a character itself.
I am intrigued.
Yeah, me too. I have never heard of it. I have not used it. But I would love it if you would drop a link to it in the chat if you happen to have one, and that way I can put it in the description later. So
yeah, I haven't heard of it either, but
very nice, very nice. Bonnie says, super excited about the masterclass membership I got for my birthday. Well, feeling so binging that this week.
There's so much good stuff on there.
I know, right? You really can do just pretty much everything. Here is another great question. How far can you go? I want to say your name correct. Is it Shashwat? Please tell me if I'm saying it incorrectly. Otherwise, we're going to go with that. How far can you go when copying / stealing from your heroes?
You're not stealing, you're inspired by.
Right. Obviously, can't go as far as plagiarism. That's
Right.
not right. We don't want to do that. But yeah, I think, everything that we have is built on a lot of other things that we have experienced or read or, all through our lives. So I think certainly there's a lot that I don't know how to answer this question. There's a lot like you can take a lot of inspiration. What are we talking about here? Like, is there a specific question? Because that is pretty, it's a little bit vague. I think that's why we're having a hard time.
I would say if you this is okay. I never read either Twilight or 50 Shades of Grey, but I know 50 Shades of Grey started out as Twilight fan fiction. And so I don't know the degree to which it was copied, because I remember hearing people say back when it
exploded,
that 50 Shades of Grey book deal first happened, like when the author, because it's fine to do fan fiction as long as you're not making money for it. Yeah. But then when you charge, that's when you get into copyright infringement. And I remember hearing people say, oh, she took Twilight, aged them up, and changed their names. And looking at what I know about 50 Shades of Grey now, it's like, I don't think that's quite right. It doesn't look like a copy of Twilight. There's no vampires in it. It's very different.
Yeah.
Things. Right. I don't know. I mean, they're like using this book as a template and just changing details. Right. That's definitely going too far.
Right. That would be going too far. But if we talk about, I read both Twilight and 50 Shades. I had to read 50 Shades to cover it on the daytime show. And I will say I was not a fan of the book. And I had to but here's what happened though. I've talked about this before. I was recommended this book by so many of my friends. And these women were doctors and lawyers and smart women. And they love that book. And I could never get past some of like the writing and things like that. Mm-hmm. But I found out later that it was a Twilight. Well, I guess I was probably researching it for the show. I found out that it was a Twilight fanfic, but I did not realize that at the time that I was writing, or at the time I was reading them. And I did not get that vibe. Certainly the heroes in both are, sort of alpha kind of guys. And so you have that, and you have like some other, sort of innocent in the world. I mean, there are some parallels, but there are no vampires.
Right. Another one that I can't think of the name of the series now. Oh, it'll come to me. But the author was Cassie Clare, and it's a huge series and started as Harry Potter fan fiction, I think.
Yeah.
The Mortal Instruments or something. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Somebody told me if I'm getting that right. But
I think that's what it's called.
But like when I haven't read that. I have read Harry Potter. From what I know about it, again, it might have started that way, but I think this would really be a case of inspired by. Because you could look at Harry Potter and say, oh, this is derivative from Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. Like Frodo and Luke are Harry. But it's just because they follow hero's journey,
Right.
Well, really, and inspired you.
Right, exactly. And we have those archetypes, in stories across time and across genres. And so of course you're going to be pulling, and maybe Harry Potter was the thing that sort of got you sparked. But how many times have you seen like a news story and been sparked, had some idea that was like, that came from something else? I had an idea this morning in the shower.
That's my little adjunct to this question, because a character in my story, I was researching through the period, and I decided to make her a model. And I came across this information about a model in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And when I found it, I said, this is the backstory of my character, because it fits so well. How much of that can you take verbatim without, I mean, Conan Doyle did it all the time. So I thought, I'll just write it in there and then I'll figure it out later.
Right. Well, right. I mean, and that's the thing, is like we're creating sort of, stories out of bits and pieces of real life and fantasy life and things that are happening in our brains and things that we've seen and read and all this other things. So, and I think too, a lot of times it feels safer to start as fan fiction.
Yes.
Right? It starts safer, like, well, I'm just writing that. I love these characters, and I would love, and I totally ship Hermione and Malfoy, and I would love to see them get together. And so I'm going to write a little story about that.
Yeah.
And now all my Wattpad friends are like, more. And I write it and I get more confident. So I do think too that like writing fanfic can be sort of like training wheels.
Oh, for sure. I think
right?
I even think it's more than that. I think it's great. Like when I taught writing workshops for kids, every semester I would get at least one parent who was concerned because their kid wanted to write fan fiction during the workshop and they wanted them to write real
original stuff.
And I had to tell them, it's awesome that your kid is writing fan fiction. They're trying to copy their favorite authors, and that is the best way to learn. You can tell these kids, it's not just that they like, yes, they want to do things with the characters that aren't happening in the canon, and that's cool. But they're also unconsciously paying very close attention to what the author does, and they're trying to emulate that. And that's like the best way to learn how to write,
Right.
Yeah. Artists do that all the time. We all start out copying somebody else's style, and then, you're influenced by all these different people, and a little of that stays with you, but you're birthed from that. And from that culmination of different styles, you become who you are. It's all a part of who influences you and what brings you joy and motivates you. So,
right. Well, and I think sometimes it can seem so overwhelming, the idea of like writing a whole book or a whole story. But if you're writing something where you're like, well, I'm just adding on to this other thing that exists, that it doesn't feel as terrifying. But then once you finished it, you're like, hey, I have this story. And what if I made this different? So I think it's absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So I hope that answered your question. The answer is a lot, but it depends on how you do it.
Yes.
I think that's true. Okay, Lady got to do call. Oh my goodness. Lady says, think wide for audio. So this is going back to our ACX question. There are royalties to be had on wide platforms. Yes. Regina says, I'd like to give you a big thank you. I actually opened my file and started editing again.
Excellent.
What? I love that. All right. Well, now I'm inspired. I feel like we should do another 20-minute sprint. Let's go ahead and get rolling. All right. Let's do it. Dun, dun, dun. This time I will put up a banner so that strangers will not just see all of us put our heads down to a timer. So, okay. Here we go, everybody. We are going to get started. Stretch yourself out. This sprint feels like a good one. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Make that magic happen. Okay, everybody. Oops. Sorry, Robert. I think I unmuted you at the same time and accidentally at the same time you were unmuting yourself and I accidentally end up muting you, which was not my intention. Like, shh, Robert, be more quiet. Less talking from you. Because everybody knows Robert's a big talker here. Oh, good gracious. So I love this. There we had like a good little chat going. Nice work. 293 words, rating 4 out of 10. I'm not sure what the rating is. Is that are you rating your writing? You're like that's good. Okay. Well, let's warm up. We want to get you to a 10 out of 10 by the last sprint. So Doll needed some of this chaotic cheerfulness today. Well, we're so glad. So glad. So we had a good conversation happening after Lainey had said think wide for audios. There are royalties to be had on wide platforms. I think that's true for everything. I think the more places you are available for sale, the more money you're going to make. Doll agrees with going wide with audio. Not everyone in the world can afford Audible just for one audiobook a month. Absolutely true. Absolutely. Eva says, my husband is a huge audiobook reader. He uses the library. We haven't done Audible at all. He reads 5-to-1 audio to any other version of the book. You guys are making the point here. Definitely. Doll says, I've used Script. Is it Scribd? It's Scribd. I've used Scribd as my main platform. Is it Scribd or Scribed?
I always say Scribd, but I'm not sure if that's right.
I don't either. I mean, scribe is like a
right.
It looks right, but then like a scribe is a writer, so is it scribe?
Yeah,
anyway, if anybody knows, let us know. I use Scribe. That's what we're calling it. Scribe as my main platform for audiobooks, and thanks to a friend in another country, I have access to a library, so I use Libby and Hoopla as well. Very nice. Shannon, thank you so much. We sure appreciate it. This is interesting. Our library also has hard copy audiobooks available to check out. I think a lot of older people like that because they haven't like connected the idea that you could like listen to audiobooks on your phone or whatever. Although my mother loves audiobooks and she will listen to them on her phone or on her iPad or whatever. So for sure. And I've been doing a lot more of them. Lainey says, Abby, I want this. Wow. Oh, I don't know what that is.
I think that's the world building Save the Cat.
Oh, yeah. We definitely want that. Lots of people actually. Lisa just asked for it. Inspiration. Oh, yay. I'm so glad. RC is here.
Hey.
Thank you, RC. We are super glad to see you here. Oh, another tough name. Wait, is that you, David? Okay. No, it's not David. It looks like a guy named David that I know. Thoko. I'm gonna go with Thoko. Tell me if it's wrong, but Thoko is awesome. That's like a good Thoko. Okay, right, like a good Viking name. Okay, I'm new and finishing my book. Publishing without an agent seems unlikely. What is a good resource for finding an agent? That is an excellent question. My favorite trick for finding an agent is probably the most common, which is that if you like a book that feels like it's in a similar genre to yours, like a similar comp to yours, look in the back where the author says, I'd like to thank my mother and my third grade teacher and my agent Shirley, because that is where you will find the agents, right in the back of the where the authors acknowledge it. So I would start there, make a list there, and then you can go onto a site called Publishers Marketplace, and there is a membership fee, but you could do it just make your big list and then do a little research. That is a great place to research because it's all in one spot. But if you don't want to spend the cost associated with the membership, which monthly, I don't think it's a lot. If it were me, just because they have all the information in one place, I'd take my big list, I'd pay for like a month of membership and then just be on there every day and research the heck out of all those agents, because it has a Publishers Marketplace will tell you how long it's been since they sold something, who they sold to, what kind of deal it was. And they do use like a nice deal is like $10,000, and a very nice deal, they have like coded language, but they will tell you what all those different things mean. So you're looking
that chart, the very nice, good.
I know.
It reminds me of like vanity sizing in women's clothing.
I know, right? Here's your 2, ma'am. I'm all about. I'm at the stage of my life where I would take a plus size 2, though. I'll do it just to save my poor, my poor mental health. Yeah. So that's how I would do it. Does anybody have any extra advice about publishing, about trying to find an agent?
Oh, back before things got so prominent on the internet, I was told that the same thing, if I wanted to find out who a writer's agent was, if I couldn't find it in the book, just call their publisher, and 8 out of 10 times they would tell you. And I did, and I got good responses from most people and found out various agents.
Yeah, definitely they will do
I
that.
would also, like, I get this question sometimes, and I'm like, I'm actually a terrible person to ask, because the last time I queried was over 10 years ago. It was 12 years ago. And everything is so different. And so my suggestion is actually, like, since you're here on YouTube, if you're talking to me, go to other channels like Lindsay Puckett, who her agent journey is much more recent, and she documented it,
right,
her query process and submission process, very thoroughly. And I think that's going to be more helpful for you, because it was like within the last few years.
Within the last decade.
Like,
True.
somebody who's done it more recently is going to have much better advice for you than I am.
Right. Well, and there is something to be said too. A lot of times there are, I know, Robert, that you were a fan of Writer's Digest for a long time. They often have articles about new agents who are looking for submissions, which is great, because a lot of times you find a great agent, but they're not accepting, you go, okay, this is the perfect person for me. I would like to have Neil Gaiman's agent. And
yeah, I still have my Writer's Digest subscription, and every month they have articles about agents almost. So yeah, it's a good place to start. They say read the trades, and Writer's Digest and Poets and Writers, also great resources for finding people. There's a lot of writing contests in Poets and Writers.
Mm-hmm. So. And then also, if you're a conference person, there are often experiences where you can have like author agent speed dating. That happens at a lot of conferences, especially mystery and romance conferences, but also in other, fantasy, and also other genres as well, certainly kidlit. So those are good opportunities if you're able to make yourself if you're able to go to sort of an in-person conference. And then also you have like PitMad and some other, things that happen online, on Twitter, on, for anybody who's still on Twitter, right? There's lots of stuff. There are still lots and lots of places where you can go. So I hope that is helpful information. For me, though, I'm always like, I want to start with, who do I see who represents the books that I like to read and that are similar to the books that I write. I think it's been the thing that has worked out. Well, I take it back. When I think about how I found one agent, that's exactly how I found that agent. And that was Jenny Bent. She was great.
Oh,
I love Jenny Bent. She's fantastic. She was a great agent. And but my other agent, Brendan Deneen, who then went on to become my editor and then now is no longer with St. Martin's, he's like a film guy. I met him at a conference. He was on a panel, and I went up and talked to him afterwards. I did all the things you're not supposed to do. I went up and talked to him afterwards, which I do that all the time. I always want to.
Okay, Lisa, as long as you didn't corner them in the bathroom, it's okay.
Right. Well, that part was okay. Here's the part I did that was sketchy. It was my first novel. It's 50 Minutes of Shame, my very first novel. I had a copy of it in my bag. I know, you know what I'm going to say next, right? We had a little chat. I'm like, hey, you're awesome. And he knew Trina Keating, who was my editor at the time. And I know I did this. So Michelle's already like, she knows what I'm going to say. So I have this one ratty copy that's like not even a bound manuscript. It's literally just like a half a ream of paper clipped together with yeah, exactly. but it was being published by Penguin, and so at least I had, but we didn't have ARCs yet. So and we were about 8 months out. So anyway, we have a very good conversation. Turns out we both know Trina, my agent at the time. And he's like, well, and I tell him a little bit about the book, and he's like, wow, I'd really like to read it sometime. And what do? Whip it out of the book bag. Here you go, sir. Take this home. And turns out he did read it on the plane on the way home, which never happens.
Wow.
But except that one time. So it maybe, well, work for you.
That's funny.
I know, right? You're not supposed to. Yeah.
Still, Lisa, it's not as bad as I've heard literary agents talk about being in the restroom at conferences in a stall and somebody slides their manuscript under the stall door. Like,
right.
That's going too far.
First of all, if that manuscript is put on the floor of the bathroom, I don't want to touch it. Especially not a public bathroom at a conference, for goodness sakes. Ooh.
So many levels of
yeah. And also it's a little disrespectful to the agent who would like disrespectful to the agent who would like to tinkle in peace.
I mean, I would genuinely be afraid to be an agent at a conference because just it would be too overwhelming for me to have that kind of constant attention and neediness.
Yeah.
It's like, apologies to authors who have done this, but like it's needy and it's kind of like desperate, and it would feel too awkward for me. I wouldn't know how to handle it, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Ugh.
I will say I have built much of my career from doing things that are mortifyingly embarrassing. I have.
I don't consider what you did mortifyingly embarrassing.
Like if someone says, who would like to ride the bull in a wrap dress on national television? I'm always like, me. Right? Because there were times in my life where I think like, oh, it'd be cool to do something, and some opportunity arises and somebody else would go, oh, okay, or nobody would say anything, but then later I feel like, I wish I would have said something. And so then at some point I just was like, okay, I'm just going to say yes to all the things. I'm always the first to volunteer. Yeah. Sometimes before I know fully what I'm volunteering for, but that's okay. And yeah. And so there have been times where you just start up a conversation with somebody. That said, please don't stalk agents in the bathroom or anywhere else, or back to their rooms or whatever. They're human beings, right? That's
seriously creepy.
It is. And you know, it's happened.
Oh my God, all the time.
It's definitely happened. All right. So RC said the moral of the Twilight books is that it's extremely important to have a boyfriend. Okay. Excellent question. Shashwat also asked, how do I make my fiction literary while I'm drafting? I don't want to leave a lot for later editing. Yeah.
I think there's something like fundamentally off in this question, and I'm trying to figure out how to word it. I don't know if you can make your writing literary. I mean, you can. Okay, no, if that's what you're aiming for, the more you write, the better your prose is going to get.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But the second part of the question saying, I don't want to leave a lot for later editing, confuses me, because whether your writing is commercial or literary, you're going to do editing later. So that's not really where it happens. Like
it's like
your style is your style.
Right.
It's 22 in the entire question, because having had, my early writing experience and learning experience with a literary author, they write draft after draft after draft. It's perfecting a lot. So the fact that you're going to do it in one draft, they would say you're fooling yourself.
No, I think I think there's a lot. I think that there are probably things that you can get away with in genre fiction that, because it's so plot driven, that you can't get away with in literary fiction, which is more about the prose. The truth is that some authors will always require more editing. I do think the more experienced you are in your career, the less editing you'll have later on. But like as you sort of learn and grow, but I still do I still edit. I still edit a lot. So, and I've been writing a lot of books. So
embrace the editing.
Embrace the editing.
People that don't want to edit, man. Editing is where like the magic really happens.
That is where the magic happens. That is where the magic happens.
That's where a lot of experienced writers say the real writing occurs, that your first draft is, getting your story down and something on the canvas that you can play with. And
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
really all it should be. If your first draft gets better as you go along, and it will, then kudos, that's experience, but you're still going to perfect it and rewrite.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I know I don't like I don't ever call it word editing. I mean, I do call it editing, but when I think about it myself, I call it wordsmithing because that feels more crafty and
Hmm.
less like just hacking away
Yes.
at crap. It's just a mental thing for me. It feels better that way.
Yeah, people think of editing as like fixing the mistakes, and that's not what
Right.
you're doing
No.
exactly.
No.
You know, I mean, yeah, you're going to fix some typos, but that's not really editing either. And I
Right.
think
Well,
some
that's
writers
line editing, but that's
editing.
not like
Yeah,
editing,
yeah.
right? It's not
Wordsmithing is a much better,
yeah.
or just revising even. I think is a better word too.
Right. Yeah, revising too because then you're tightening up some areas, you're expanding others, you're adding in things that are funny or poignant or sad or whatever. So, all right. RC says those smart people are into abusive relationships if they like 50 Shades. The fact that people like to read about abusive relationships does not mean that they want to be in one. We'll just right? There are a lot of people that
Yeah,
just because you love those shifter werewolves, Scottish shifter werewolves, does not mean you would really like to date a werewolf.
dude. Half the mystery novels, look, half the mystery novels I read have like some kind of like domestic abuse plot. Does that mean I want to be domestically abused? No. But I
No.
read those stories. Like just because you're reading something doesn't mean you want it in real life.
I was surprised though. Well, so it was not the fact, like it was not the so someone explained this to me and I do not remember who it was. So but I thought it was so powerful, the idea. Um dominatrix, the people that right, so a dominatrix is a person who controls her the movements or behavior of her, what did they call the person? Their sub.
Yeah.
Right. And
Mhm.
so and you would think that these were maybe people who like were not particularly self-assured or confident, but that's actually not it at all. The statistic that I read that was so fascinating was that most of the clients of dominatrices, what's the plural?
I don't know.
Dominatri. that most of their clients are actually high-powered men,
Uh-huh.
and that when they go to this dominatrix, it's like a little brain vacation because they don't have to be in charge. Someone else tells them what to do, and that there's some sort of relief or pleasure in that, right?
Mhm.
And I think that there's probably something similar. And to be truthful, I know a lot of people who are into those. No, I shouldn't say a lot. I know some people who are into those types of relationships, and it's more about like the role playing than anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
So fascinating, a very good point
Yes.
to bring up. Good topic. All right. So wait, hold on. I missed the first part. Oh, here we go. Eva says, I have a close friend who writes fanfic. Also, Twilight, fairly popular. Don't read it, not my genre, but we chat a lot about it. One of her recent stories sounds original. So later this summer, I'm going to be one of the editors on it, aiming to make it original fiction altogether.
That's very cool.
I love that. It's a retelling, but a fairy tale retelling. The rest only seems Twilight to her. Well, right? So that is, but if she needs that, like, scaffolding to be able to write, I think that is fantastic. Good for her, and that's awesome that you're going to help her. Regina says, in my opinion, drafting, editing, polishing have to happen separately. If you edit as you go, it'll take forever to finish the book, and you might get tired of the project. Yes,
it's very true.
Very. All right, we've got sisters, authors, friends in Canada. What do you think about planning to write an adult thriller series and a YA thriller spin-off series? I know it was done by Harlan Coben, but would it be recommended, or is Harlan's success rarity? Well, yes, Harlan's success is a rarity in many things, right? He's very popular. But I don't, oops, hold on. There we go. But I don't Oh, this so weird. StreamYard does not want to put this question up. So I think though that just because Harlan Coben did, that's just like saying like, oh, Brandon Sanderson had like a fantastic Kickstarter.
So everybody can do it.
Well, either can everybody do it or only Brandon can do it. And the answer I think is that everybody can do it. And I think the same answer is true for writing an adult thriller series and a YA thriller spinoff. I think there's something kind of interesting about that idea. Without knowing more, I wouldn't, but I think there's something cool to that. I think the more you can sort of expand your book universe, and goodness gracious, one of my friends, Eileen Cook, wrote YA for a long time, and now she's writing adult fiction, genre fiction, mystery, thriller, suspense. And her readers have, like, they used to age out of, her middle grade novels, but now they're, can go right into her YA and then right into her adult fiction, and they can basically stay with Eileen Cook, who is an awesome writer. You should check her out for their entire lives.
Yeah, I'd say there's something about keeping it within your universe so it's not two separate entities.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there was a popular murder in your universe and then these young adults heard about it and stumbled onto something and,
Right.
ran with it because of that, because they were inspired by this great detective or whatever,
Right.
that could be kind of interesting. And then it pulls in the readers from your first book to the second book and vice versa.
Yeah. There's something
about
really cool about
planning
that.
it and connecting it the right way, I think.
Yeah. Well, you probably would keep some of your adult readers as well, because a lot of adults read YA. So love that. Eva says, one of my stories has a musician that goes missing. My husband, also my alpha reader, asked me if it was inspired by a real life situation that he knew about. It wasn't, but it's eerily similar. That happens all the time. Sometimes life copies fiction. Sometimes it's the other way around. All right. So CO says it's the same beats as Save the Cat. So opening image, catalyst, all is lost, bad guys close in, etc. For opening image, the sun rose behind the mountain, no character interaction yet. All right, we might need this at all. Yeah, it is. There we go. Mary says, my husband's now retired lawyer agent won huge bucks for some 50 Shades authors that got cut out early. His advice was, don't get sued since only the lawyers make money. Yeah.
Always solid advice.
Yeah, right. Try not to get sued. Try not to get sued. All right, you guys, we have time for one more 20-minute sprint. Can we go 5 minutes late? I feel like we're going to. Yeah. All right, here we go. Let's do one more. Dun, dun, dun. This will be our last sprint of the day, you guys. So let's make this one count. All right, here we go. We're going to get started in 3, 2, 1. Cha-cha. All right, and we are back. So thanks so much for that last sprint, you guys. I really needed that. I was like on such a roll, and I got the end of my scene done, so I'm super excited about that. Michelle, how did you do on your sprint today?
Really good. I've gotten about 1,500 words kind of
Yay.
rewritten today. So yeah, doing good.
Yay, nice. So I'm super excited about that. Robert, how about you? How'd you do today?
I don't know the exact word count, but I did pretty well. I'm just about finished with this chapter, so that's a good thing.
I'm so glad to hear it. I was gonna pop up I was gonna pop up all the comments, and I got to the second one from RC, and you cracked me up, buddy. Thank you so much.
I knew he would say that.
Did you know that RC is gonna date a werewolf? I love your openness, RC. I think that's really awesome. Very, very nice. So I know I feel you. Like we all feel that. You're gonna feel that way on your 20th book too.
Yes.
That never goes away. Just lean into it. Do the best you can. But you will at some point be working on your 10th book and go, oh my God, I don't know how to do this.
Yep.
Yeah, happens. All right. So just tune back in, rewind, watch some of the response you got there. Oh, so good. Oh, you're so welcome. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. You guys, I felt so get out. I just saw this. Can I just say I never watched this show when it was a thing. Mm-hmm. And the Horror Geek and I are watching it now. I'm completely Oh yeah. We like every night that was like we watch like 2 or 3 episodes. Yeah. That's like our little cool down at the end of the day. Love. And I would totally do that. I would completely like fangirl right now to this day over pretty much like 80% of the characters. I will not tell you who I would not fangirl, but I love that show.
I think I still have the final season to go. When I first started watching it, I thought this is like the Dukes of Hazzard chasing monsters, and I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. But then as it went on, I thought this is actually really cool. They got a lot of ideas going on here.
That's such a
it is like the Dukes of Hazzard chasing monsters. Well, and it's funny too. Like the great thing about watching any show with the Horror Geek is he always knows like all the ins and outs of the show, blah blah blah. And he had started watching it way back in the day, but then stopped because apparently they thought they were going to end after the 5th season or something, and then they were like, and I don't remember, but they thought they were going to end at the 5th season, and they basically completed a full story arc, and then they were like, guess what, you're coming back. And they had to like, oh, Armageddon happened at the end of the world, and now we've got to come back. Like, how do we solve that? It's like, well, you can go with it was all a dream, or
don't do that.
Dig yourself out. I think they did. I mean, it was a rough 6th season, I think, but I think they did dig themselves out of it. So yeah. Anyway, love Supernatural, and I'd be right there with you, sisters. Yeah, exactly. Love. Now I feel like I want to know the story. We've got to run. But next week, please come back and tell us exactly how you fangirl.
I would like to hear that.
I know, right? We all would. All right, you guys, we're going to do our outros really fast and hit the road for the day because we're already running about 10 minutes behind, which we normally don't do. Michelle, before we go, would you like to tell us a little about you?
Yeah, I'm Michelle Schusterman. I write young adult and middle grade novels, and my channel is Traditional Publishing Chat, writing workshops and writing vlogs. Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks so much for being here today. Robert Jones, tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
And my channel is comparing storytelling and craft and tech reviews. And head over and check out some old videos. There's new ones being scripted, and there's now a live stream.
Yay! I know, right?
You can rewatch if you missed this one.
That's right. We are going to Jennifer Brown's like, I can't believe you went there. Oh, I did. Yeah. I am so glad that we are simul streaming on everybody's channel because Robert, I feel like, okay, now we can like get your hours. So,
Maybe like some activity going on over there.
Exactly. I'm Lisa Daly. I write contemporary romance, specifically romantic comedy and nonfiction writing advice. I'm a hybrid author. And if you want to write a book you're super proud of and get it published, check out the channel. It's a great place to start. Thank you guys all so much for being here today. We got a ton of work done. It looks like everybody really got some great writing in today. I know I did. I know these guys did. So thanks very much. And we will see you guys not next week. I have to go out of town. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Not next week.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Good to know.
I know.
Thanks.
I almost said see you next week. So, okay. 2 weeks we will not be here. All right, guys. You have a great week of writing, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Take care, everybody.